ko at sawi-sawi. Kaagapay mo ako sa iyong pagbangon, kaibigan mo kasangga panahon. Huwag mag-alala, di ka nag-iiska. Hahawakan ko ang iyong mga kamay, tatayo tayo ng magkasabay. Handa kong ipaglaban ang iyong karapatan, katotohanan at siyang ipangagwiran. Sa lalaban ko, gumanagundong na sigaw ng tambayan. Binibighin karapatan ipaglaban, batas ng Pilipinas ipaglaban, ngunit pagsibig ng Diyos ang ibaba. Hahawakan ko ang iyong mga kamay, tatayo tayo ng magkasabay. Handa kong ipaglaban ang iyong karapatan, katotohanan at siyang ipangagwiran. Sa hamon na ito, karapatan mo, ipaglalaban ko. Ipaglalaban ko, ipaglalaban ko. Ipaglalaban ko, ipaglalaban ko.
Hello, hello. Bakit?
Hi, Ona.
Hi, Jonas. May music pala talaga dito.
Yeah. Tsaka,
May song and dance pa.
mamaya si Papi Martin magpe-perform.
Sige. Ako ko muna video ko, no? Sige, Jonas, mag-ano ka muna dyan.
Sige lang.
Good.
Hello, Martin.
Meron na palang ano ha? Meron na tayong attendees. May attendees na tayong 3.
Oh, wow. Ako.
sa lipunan. Huwag maging pabaya, tumulong sa iyong kapwa tayo ay mag-isa. Tara na, ayun na. Di ka sumama na ating karapatan, ating ipaglaban mo at isa'y makasama. Halina, tara na. Stand up for someone's right. Ngayon na, huwag magsawalang bahala. Lahat tayo'y pantay-pantay. Respeto sa kapwa at karapatan nating ibigay. Someone's right. Ngayon na, huwag magsawalang bahala. Lahat tayo'y pantay-pantay. Respeto sa kapwa at karapatan nating ibigay. Respeto sa kapwa at karapatan nating ibigay. Stand up for someone's right. Nasaan na ang pagmamahal? Ang solusyon sa lahat ng kaguluhan. Buksan na nating mga mata. Nagpupugling liwanag dapat makita. Bakit kaya meron pang gulo? Merong poot sa kapwa-tao. Kailan kaya mababago to? Nasaan ang pag-ibig? Hanapin natin to. Meron pang nagugutom, umiiyak. Nandyan rin ang mga napapahamak. Meron pang kinulong na walang sala. Di dapat isang walang bahala. Taas yung noo, makinig kayo. Taas yung noo, lahat tayo. Taas yung noo, ipaglaban mo. Ika'y may paninindigan sa mundong ito. Taas yung noo sa mga naaapi. Taas yung noo sa mga walang kasalanan. Taas yung noo, abutin na ito. Karapatan para sa mundo. Bawat isa ay may karapatan. Alamin natin lahat ang katarungan. Ano man ang iyong pinagmulan. Kaya respetuhin ang sambayanan. Di tayo dapat inaapi. Meron din tayong karapatang pumili. Laganap pa rin ang kalupitan. Wakasan na para sa ating bayan. Meron pang nagugutom, umiiyak. Nandyan rin ang mga napapahamak. Meron pang kinulong na walang sala. Di dapat isa walang bahala. Taas yung noo, makinig kayo. Taas yung noo, lahat tayo. Taas yung noo, ipaglaban mo. Ika'y may paninindigan sa mundong ito. Taas yung noo sa mga naaapi. Taas yung noo sa mga walang kasalanan. Taas yung noo, abutin na ito. Karapatan para sa mundo. Sapat na edukasyon para sa ating kabataan. Sa mga pribado o pampublikong paaralan. Kahit anumang relihiyon ang iyong kinabibilangan, may karapatan kang dapat ipaglaban at ipangangatwiran. At kung anumang bansa o lugar ang iyong kinaroroonan, kahit ito'y malayo man at kung saan ang pinanggalingan, may karapatan kang magtrabaho para sa pamilya at kinabukasan. Dapat ito'y ipaglaban ng buong sambayanan. Makinig kayo, lahat tayo, ipaglaban mo para sa Maski iba, hindi dapat husgahan. Mapadamit man o mukha, siya'y may paroroonan. Hanggang ngayon di pa rin natin bati. Ibang tingin basta't may yamang hatid. Di ba't batas natin dapat may piring? Ba't sumilip sa mataas na kapatid? Huwag kang hihinaan, meron kang kakapitan, may lahi kang ipaglalaban. Isigaw sa lahat ang iyong mga pangarap. Ipaglalaban natin ang iyong mga mithiin. Sabay-sabay, karapatan ng bayan. Buhay natin ay kay banal. Bayan, bakit pinapatay ang buhay nyo? Ang boses ko, karapatan nilaban mo. Sigaw mo sa lahat ang iyong pangarap. Ipaglalaban natin ang iyong mga mithiin. Sabay-sabay, karapatan ng bayan. Alam kong ako'y di nag-iisa, sa paligid aking nakikita. May hamon sa atin ngayon. Aking puso'y may handog sa bawat diwang nadudurog. Ngayon na ang panahon, at di matatapakan
Marami sa atin ay halos di na alam kung paano gamitin ang karapatang pantao. Naaabuso pero di makapagreklamo pagkat walang linaw sa kanila, kaya malabo na malaman ang dapat matutunan. Alam nyo ba kasi ganito po yan, nasa batas na lahat ay may karapatan maging ikaw. Mula pa lang ng iyong kamusmusan, huwag tayong maging duwag at puro lang salag, kasi di pwede habang buhay tayo ay parang bulag. Kung alam nating mali ay huwag nang tularan pa, sa mabuting paraan dapat maging huwaran ka. Hindi sagot ang karakasan para sa pagbabago, dapat alam mo ang karapatan mo bilang tao. Di pa naman huli, basta huwag ka lang matakot kaysa dumating yung araw na hindi ka na umabot. Alam mo ba ang iyong karapatan bilang isang mamamayan? Ano kanila pakikinggan bilang tao? Dapat alam mo yan. Alam mo ba ang iyong karapatan bilang isang mamamayan? Ano kanila pakikinggan bilang tao? Dapat alam mo yan. Karapatan mong maghayag na malaya, karapatan mo rin mamuhay ng payapa, karapatan mo sabihin ang gusto mo. Dapat sa batas pantay-pantay tayo, walang mahirap o mayaman, ganun sana. Huwag utuin porkit di marunong bumasa. Ako ay narito upang ipaalala na meron kang sandigan, meron kang pag-asa. Dito sa ating lipunan meron kang karapatan maging ang lahat ng nasa paaralan, sa trabaho o negosyo, sa araw man ay bilad. Kailangan din kasi na tayo ay may dignidad. Karapatan mo rin makilahok sa kultura, karapatang pagkain meron din para buo na. Di pa naman huli ang lahat, basta huwag ka lang mating yung araw na hindi ka na umabot. Alam mo ba ang iyong karapatan bilang isang mamamayan? Ano kanila pakikinggan bilang tao? Dapat alam mo yan. Alam mo ba ang iyong karapatan bilang isang mamamayan? Ano kanila pakikinggan bilang tao? Dapat alam mo yan. Karapatan, karapat dapat dapat. 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 Oh. Alam mo ba ang iyong karapatan bilang isang mamamayan? Ano kanila pakikinggan bilang tao? Dapat alam mo yan. Alam mo ba ang iyong karapatan bilang isang mamamayan? Ano kanila pakikinggan bilang tao? Dapat alam mo yan.
Kahit di man tanyag, kahit walang armas, ipagpapatuloy ko. Kahit di malakas, kahit di man tanyag, kahit walang armas, ipagpapatuloy ko.
Kamaungan ay itaas, dapat sa laban ay patas. Mata sa langit, paa sa lupa, buhay mo mahalaga. Hustisya baka mo ang hanap mo, ano pang hinihintay mo? Tibay ng loob, lakas ng puso, iyan mga panlaban mo.
Kahit di malakas, kahit di man tanyag, kahit walang armas, ipagpapatuloy ko. Kahit di malakas, kahit di man tanyag, kahit walang armas, ipagpapatuloy ko.
ako'y itataga sa diwa ko. Ngunit bakit tila dahas ang ginagamit? Pakiusap, itigil na natin to.
Mga iyak mong di man lang nakikita, mga sigaw mong di pinakinggan nila, paghihirap na pilit mong tinatakpan, pagkat balot ng takot ang nararamdaman. Ngunit sadyang di mo ito maikukuli, kahit layunin mo'y bigo at sawi-sawi. Kaagapay mo ako sa iyong pagbangon, kaibigan mo kasangga sa lahat ng panahon. Huwag nag-alala, di ka nag-iista.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hi, Attorney Rax. Can hear you.
Hello. Yes. All right. Yes, I heard you, Jonas. Thank you. Welcome to our second session on our Human Rights e-lawyering project. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Our audience for today consists of interns from the UP Office of Legal Aid, as well as volunteer lawyers. At this point, we'd like to acknowledge and welcome Professor Vistan, as well as Professor Marbil Liasos, both from the UP Office of Legal Aid. Welcome, professors. As everyone knows, we will launch the Human Rights e-lawyering service in December, which will actually be an expanded service, given that the Commission has already been implementing the e-lawyering service since March of this year. It is a public service program where the Commission accepts and responds to queries from the general public on everyday matters involving legal issues. By way of recap, our first training was conducted in October of this year, October 24, attended by law interns, also from UP OLA. We had a couple of speakers then, led by Dean Jose Manuel Jocno, chairperson of the Free Legal Assistance Group. There were also 3 speakers from the Commission on Human Rights at the time. The first, Mr. Melchor Cayabyab, discussed the mandate of the Commission. We also had Attorney Arlene Van, who presented the results of the current e-lawyering services from March to July of 2020. We also had Mr. Jonas Turingan, who gave an overview of the service protocols that were then under study for the expanded e-lawyering service. And for anyone among you who would like to review this training session that we conducted in October 24, we have uploaded the video and we can provide you with a link. So we will now be taking off from the first training module and proceed to today's session. Can we flash on screen our program for today's webinar? Okay, thank you, Jonas. You will see that we have 4 submodules from speakers of the Commission on Human Rights who will speak about the experiences of their respective offices in rendering legal assistance to the public. They will be sharing their experiences on actual queries that their offices attended to, so that we may get a feel of the types of queries that you, our legal interns, and our volunteer lawyers may expect in the course of participating in this program. We will also have a short rendering on paralegal techniques and meta-legal strategies that will be useful to you, our interns and volunteer lawyers, in performing the legal services that you will render through our e-lawyering program. Finally, we will have the project head of the Human Rights e-lawyering service present what will be our updated working model for our e-lawyering service. Again, our house rules require that the participants be muted during the presentation of the speakers, but please do feel free to post your questions at any time using the Q&A feature of the platform. Kindly make sure that you use the Q&A feature rather than the chat function for your questions. We will have two Q&A portions. The first will be after the CHR lecturers speak on their experiences in rendering legal services to the public. And the open forum, another open forum will be made after the presentation of the operating protocols for our e-lawyering service. As in the first training program, we will also kindly ask the participants for documentation purposes to enter their names during the different portions of the training. May we request you now, our interns, to do that and type your names into the chat box. Thank you. Please also note that we will be recording the proceedings so that we can retrieve and review the contents at any time to form part of a training and knowledge base for the program. Hence, we will consider your continued participation as your implied consent to this recordation. So without further ado, let me now introduce you to our first two speakers who will be making a joint presentation. We have our officers from the Citizens Help and Assistance Division of the Commission on Human Rights. May I kindly call on Attorney Kristel Joy Biscayda, OIC of CHAD, and Ms. Catherine Vergara, Public Service Officer 2, also from CHAD. Hello, good afternoon, Attorney Kristel. Good afternoon, Ms. Catherine.
Thank you, Attorney Raquel.
Thank you.
I'd like to share my screen po muna. May I ask permission to share my screen?
Yes, Sir Jonas.
You should be able to share, Kristel.
Sige. Okay, thank you. Can you see my screen already?
Yes, Attorney K.
Okay.
We can see it.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I am Attorney Kristel Biscayda, Officer in charge of the Citizens Help and Assistance Division. Together with me is Ms. Catherine Vergara, Public Services Officer 2 of the same division. We are here to share our experiences as to how we handle CHR clients, and at the same time, how we, CHAD, as a referral mechanism, endorses their complaints and concerns to the concerned offices within the CHR. So here, we wish to provide a glimpse of the types of clients and complaints and requests being handled by CHAD, demonstrate how we handle clients for referral, and explain the importance of client feedback and satisfaction. So, as a government agency, we have a quality policy that dictates the kind of service that we are giving to our clients. The Commission on Human Rights commit to provide prompt, accessible, responsive, and excellent public services in accordance with its constitutional mandates and universal human rights standards, and continually improve our quality management system. So, to provide context, the Citizens Help and Assistance Division of the CHR has 5 functional mandates, which includes the customer complaints handling, the citizens charter management, customer inquiries and feedback, status of customer requests, and customer relationships management. So, the laws that governs the handling of clients are the ARTA, the Ease of Doing Business Act of 2018, which amended ARTA, and the Civil Service Commission. If we have dissatisfied clients, they usually share their experience through the Presidential Complaint Center, the Hotline 888, and the Contact Center ng Bayan. So the complaints and requests that CHR has been receiving are the following. All possible complaints and requests from the victims themselves or the relatives or from concerned citizens or bystanders or those that are coursed through CHR employees and officials and government agencies and mechanisms as mentioned beforehand. So we have um, 25 regional and sub offices nationwide. So they also receive complaints and requests from our clients, aside from CHAD. So here are our top 3 complaints from March to November 2020 during the implementation of various community quarantines nationwide. We've received 216 complaints or requests in relation to arrest or detention, in relation to alleged violation of quarantine protocols. We've also received torture or cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment or punishment in relation to the alleged violation of protocols. And we've also received requests for inclusions or complaints in relation to provision of government assistance, specifically on the DSWDS SAP. So here are the complaints or the requests received during March to November 2020. We've classified them into COVID-19 related, and those requests or complaints that happened during COVID-19. So now I will turn you over to Ms. Catherine Vergara so that she can share on how CHAD handles the clients and how we, as a referral mechanism, endorses them to other CHR offices.
Hi, good afternoon. As what Attorney Kring mentioned, my task this afternoon is to share with you our day-to-day experience in handling clients via mobile phone, telephones, and email. To start with, you should always bear in mind that our voice and words are our only assets. So we should always be very courteous and enthusiasm in answering the phone. So I'll start with how we answer calls via mobile phone or telephone or landline, I should say. Um, First, of course, you greet the client, introduce yourself as required by ARTA, and I ask what we can do to help. And I immediately inform the client that before she can proceed, personal information is needed, and as such, we have to ask for the client's concern to as part of our data privacy notice. And if the client will request for anonymity, we will indicate that in the referral or in our endorsement that we'll be preparing. So if the client agreed to give the information, we'll just be getting basic information. And what would that be? The name of the caller, the contact details, it may be phone or email, the place and date of incident. Why? Because we have to identify where that particular case or concern that was relayed to us will be referred to what particular region. For example, if the incident happened in Bulacan, i-refer natin siya sa Region 3. And then we'll also be asking briefly to describe the incident, but we won't go into the detail so as not to avoid revictimization. We don't want the client to experience the same trauma that they had when they encountered such problem. And if they can provide also the name of the victim, the current location, and the perpetrator or the person who committed the violence. And after that, we will be evaluating the request, the complaint of the concern. If it can be acted upon, we provide immediate response. But it needs further evaluation and be referred to another person, we inform the client about it. So after we have, let's say, endorse it, we prepare endorsement for that. Or as mentioned earlier, if the case happened in Region 3, we will prepare endorsement for Region 3. And then that particular region will be the one to act on that particular concern. And that region will be the one to ask for clients' feedback so as we can further improve our services. And this is just a sample of the feedback form that the regions or that they are using. What is important is you should be explained the reason for the importance of getting a feedback or a rating so that we can further improve our services. After that, we thank the client. Thank you. We inform them na salamat po sa inyong pagtawag. Kung may kailangan pa po kayo, maaari po kayong tumawag ulit sa aming tanggapan. At ibibigay na rin po namin ang contact detail, let's say, ng region kung saan po siya na-refer for any additional clarifications and queries. Oh, as mentioned earlier, here are some tips that we can share with you. As mentioned earlier, the callers can sense our mood and disposition. So we should always be courteous and enthusiastic. And we should, as much as possible, answer the phone on the first ring. Imagine we ourselves have experienced that if the phone kept on ringing and no one is answering, hindi magandang impression that we're giving to the client. And if you fail to answer the phone at the first ring, apologize. And if client asks for something and you cannot provide for an answer, be courteous that you have to put them on hold for a while and try to search for the answer that they're asking for. So, there's at least another mode of communication or way that our client reach us. It's via electronic mail, and this is how we handled the queries. Either they send a message, it may be a general query, or a detailed account of the incident, as you can see on the screen. But our protocol and standard protocol or process is we acknowledge, okay, the message of the client. And again, that would include the data privacy notice and the consent so that we can request for further information. Details can be seen on the screen. Just as an example, if you can immediately, let's say, answer the query of the client, for example, in this particular case, he's looking for a job, so we can immediately respond by giving the number of HRDD or our website. And if it can be acted upon, as I've said earlier, we provide immediate response. But if the matter requires further evaluation, we have to refer it to another person, and we will be informing the client promptly about it. Okay, once we have endorsed a particular case, we give the client the name or the office where we endorse their concern for their appropriate action, giving details such as their phone numbers, email addresses, and mobile numbers. And after the service were rendered, we also require feedbacks from the clients. And a link on the online feedback form shall be sent to the client's email. And that will be done by the region or by the offices where we referred their concerns.
Next is the recommendation.
Oh, I mentioned earlier already about the revictimization. I think that would be all that we can share for this afternoon session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Attorney Kristel and our Miss Catherine Vergara. Our next speaker is from the National Capital Region Office of the Commission. She's unable to join us live, unfortunately, but she has kindly prepared a video for us to view. We will now be playing the presentation of Attorney Maria Teresa Diola, Attorney 4 of the Legal Division of the NCR Office. Jonas, can we play the video?
Presentation po dahil meron po akong emergency lang na kailangang attendan and hindi ko alam kung hanggang anong oras po ako. So, in case lang na hindi ako makaabot, ito po yung ipipresent para sa event na ito today. So, umpisahan po natin. Okay. Ano po ba yung agenda namin? Ako po ay representative sa National Capital Region. Ako po si Teresa Diola. You can call me Tere for short. At ang source po nitong PowerPoint ko ay nagmula po sa aming OIC, si Atty. Diana De Leon. So, in-improve ko na lang or dinagdagan ko na lang po, especially ng mga data. Ang agenda natin ay to discuss briefly ang organizational structure po ng National Capital Region, duties and functions, kasi para hindi kayo ma-confuse dahil alam ko magpe-present din po ang aming CHR Central Legal Office dahil sila yung may concept ng e-lawyer dito. And to share the nature of NCR cases, particularly during the mandatory emergency quarantine, community quarantine. Also to provide cases related to the implementation of ECQ, DCQ, and how NCR responded and acted on the concerns and matters. Ano po yung powers and functions namin? Ito po ay nakalagay sa ating Constitution, Article 13, Section 18. Malamang nabasa nyo na rin ito. So yung mga nasa yellow, yung po yung mga ginagawa ng NCR Regional Office. We investigate on our own or via complaint by any party all forms of human rights violations involving civil and political rights. We also provide legal measures for the protection of human rights of all the persons in the Philippines and those Filipinos residing abroad. And we also provide preventive measures and legal aid service for the underprivileged whose human rights have been violated and need protection. We also conduct jail visitation over jails, prison, and detention facilities. We are also into research. We do our research information, and especially those respecting the primacy of human rights, and we submit them to the CHR Central Policy Advisory Office. And we also monitor government's compliance with the international treaty obligations on human rights. We request assistance of any department, bureau, office nakasaid sa Constitution. So it's mandatory na humingi kami ng assistance from them or agency in the performance of our functions. And we also perform such other duties and functions may be provided by law, such as under the Magna Carta for Women, we are the gender ombud. So we stand as the gender ombud under the Mental Health Act. We also work hand in hand with the Department of Health. You can skip this. Bukod sa basis namin or nag-create sa amin ay ang Constitution, we are also accredited as the National Human Rights Institution of the country. Nag-comply tayo sa Treaty of Cadiz, kaya nagkaroon tayo ng ganyang status. And bakit na na-create ang human rights? Of course, due to our past experience, especially during the declaration of the martial law, kung saan na maraming human rights violations ang nangyari. And of course, may unrelented demand for protection and promotion of human rights, even up to present naman, for our marginalized and disadvantaged sectors. Gaya ng nasabi ko po kanina, we investigate either vote appropriate or through our own initiative or by complaint. Any violations of human rights. And sino yung pwedeng mag-file? First victim, kamag-anak niya, concerned individual, like non-government organization, and government or private entity. So kahit sino pwede. Procedure in filing complaints. Meron po kami, dahil kami ay ISO certified, nagpapa-ISO certified. Meron kaming table kung paano namin ina-assist ang complaint. So magre-register muna ang isang complainant na pumunta sa amin, and then we will assess the nature of the complaint, around siguro 10 minutes to 20 minutes. And then, up to the provisioning of certain assistance, kung ano yung dapat namin gawin, and hihingi kami ng feedback sa ginawa namin from the client na pumunta sa amin. So, this is transactional. Ito lang po yung table kung paano namin ginagawa. Para magkaroon kayo ng idea kung paano. And the CHR has 15 regional offices, and meron yatang 3 or 2 na sub-regional offices. And ito po kami. Kami at ang Region 4B, 4A or 4B ay naka-station dito sa AC building. So nakiki-opisina po kami sa CHR Regional Office, pero kami ay regional office. So anything within the NCR, National Capital Region, nasa amin po yung jurisdiction. At ito po ang aming organizational chart, kung ilan po kami. So including our officer in charge, Atty. Diana De Leon, kami po ay binubuo ng 24 people. Inalis ko na po yung nag-resign na abogado. So we have the legal division, protection division, or the investigation division. We also have the promotion division and our admin. So, mamaya i-discuss ko po kung ilan talaga kami. Pero dito mabibilang nyo naman kung ilan kami at ang sakop namin ay ang National Capital Region. Ano po ba ang ginagawa ng Legal and Investigation Division? So, ito na lang shortcut. We investigate cases and we also resolve these human rights violation cases. And kung sa tingin namin kailangan mag-file, we are also involved in assisting clients in filing the case in court or in the office of the ombudsman. We also provide legal assistance and counseling, and mamaya madidiscuss natin yan sa e-lawyering na concept. We are also responsible in jail visitation. So yung aming division, may primary task na mag-conduct ng jail visit, and also the national implementation of the program against torture prevention. We also recommend financial assistance vis-a-vis the resolution of cases. Kung talagang sa tingin namin may paglabag ng karapatang pantao, nagre-recommend din kami ng financial assistance to help the victims mag-file or ipagpatuloy yung pag-file ng kanilang case sa appropriate fora. And kung hindi naman ito human rights violation, we also provide alternative dispute resolution. Our promotion, of course, our promotion division and policy advisory division, they conduct training. They also serve as the advocacy and information office. They also serve as speakers bureau and provide management reports. Gaya ng ibang opisina, of course, meron kaming internal admin, our administrative office for the general administration ng aming opisina at pagpa-prepare ng budget at saka financial reports. Ito na tayo po sa legal assistance, which is the core or the basis of our e-lawyering. Ano po ba yung basis? Na-mention ko na ito kanina. So, sabi doon, mag-extend ang CHR ng free legal assistance and counseling to persons whose human rights were violated or threatened with violations o kailangan ng protection. And ano yung kino-consider? Actually, ito yung mga dapat namin i-consider pero hindi na ito na-consider in reality. So, yung subject matter dapat within our jurisdiction, human rights violations involving civil and political rights, economic status and sector ng kliyente, nature and gravity of the human rights case, availability ba ng aming abogado dito, considering na 3 lamang po kami for the entire NCR, and kino-consider namin kung meron bang lawyer or association of lawyers na tumanggap o ayaw tumanggap ng kaso for justifiable reason. So legal counseling service, regardless of the status, we provide legal advice, especially if it's urgent. Kaya sabi ko kanina, mukhang hindi na rin natutupad yung jurisdiction, kung jurisdiction ba namin. Kung ito ay legal advice, magbibigay talaga kami ng legal advice. Pero of course, we need to prioritize persons who belongs to underprivileged, marginalized, or vulnerable sector. I-evaluate namin yung subject matter ng kanilang concern and kung appropriate, which most often than not, in-endorse ko namin or nire-refer namin sa competent government agency or free legal aid. And this is the list of our case. Maraming nangyari since our inception in 1987. Nagkaroon mga reorganizational para mag-improve yung service namin. And ito pong nagsasalita ngayon ay parte ng new National Capital Region Office, which was created in June 2017. So makikita niyo dito yung development ng kaso, which is tumataas as the year go by. From 53 docketed, docketed means human rights violation na categorize namin. So from 53 human rights violation case na kailangan namin investigate at resolve. Ngayon nasa 200, nagballoon siya 445 at hindi naman yan lahat pa-resolve. May iba dyan na ini-investigate pa rin. May additional na 241 as of the present. Meron din kaming assistance. Ito yung kahit ano na lang na kaso na nagpo-provide kami ng assistance. So from 164 at present, may additional po kaming 520. And then yung legal assistance, since wala pong abogado noon hanggang 2018, nag-umpisa po yung pagtaas niya or pagbibigay namin ng legal assistance noong 2019 na 296 kami, may additional, most naman ito na-resolve, na acted upon. So, considered namin siyang tapos na. For monitoring na lang yung iba. So, as of the present po, meron kaming 470. In total, this year, ang total na meron kami na breakdown ng kaso ay 1,231 as of October 2020. Ilan po ba yung abogado at investigators natin kada taon wala ng aming creation? 0, 2 noong 2018 pero wala pa rin po mga legal assistance during that time, perhaps during transition kasi nagre-resolve ng kaso. And then in 2019, meron po kami 5 pero nag-resign po siya. So ngayon 2020, 4 po kami, including na po yung aming division chief. 3 po kaming working lawyers. Ang investigators naman po namin sa ngayon ay 12. Ano yung mga type ng kaso na na-receive namin during the quarantine period? Yung 1,231 na yan, during the quarantine. So ito po sila. Meron kaming mga na-receive na abuse of authority. Hindi po ito according sa number kasi magkakaiba. Ito po ay alphabetically arranged. So abuse of authority, arrest, detention, assault, any types of assault, whether it involves a public official or a private person. Attack, suppression of freedom of expression. Meron din kaming bullying, common crimes such as theft or violation of domicile. Demolition. Meron kami discrimination against frontliners. Yan ang medyo naging high. Hindi naman sobrang taas pero nagkaroon kami ng ganyang type ng concern. No implementation ng ECQ, lalo na yung during the curfew, nagkaroon kung ano ba yung punishment, kung may punishment na siya. Arbitrary deprivation, ito kasi human rights violation. So gender-related violence, harassment, of course, legal advice and counseling. Sineparate pa rin siya kasi yung iba, meron na sa kanilang title na nangihingi sila ng legal advice. Others naman, concern na agad. So ikaw lang yung mag-ascertain kung legal advice pa siya. Pero itong category na ito is yung may mga title na mismo na sila ay nangihingi ng legal advice. Locally stranded individual. Ito po yung nangyari sa ating mga OFWs na na-stranded sa NAIA. And yung other people po na na-stranded, may concern din yung stranded outside their province. Meron kami mga concern ng minor victims, labor-related concern. Other cases, hindi siya common crimes kasi hindi naman siya crime. Payment of rent, contract dispute, internet dispute, violation of privacy. Hindi po siya within our jurisdiction, hindi siya human rights violation, pero tinanggap po siya namin. PDL concern, people with who are differently abled. Provision of government assistance or our amelioration program. Meron kami, one of the highest na meron kami. Yung punishment ng ECQ violators, dapat dito siya. Kaya lang, baka ito yung title, kaya dito siya nakategorize. Request for financial assistance. Yung talagang nagre-request sila, wala silang human rights violation na concern, pero financial assistance. And hindi din siya amelioration program. Meron din kami torture, cruel, inhumane, degrading treatment for punishment. Violation of right to health. Meron din kami mga ganyang concern. PDL pala, sorry. Person deprived of liberty. Ito yung, hindi pala siya yung ating PWD, sorry. So it's our mga colleagues na nasa jail or detention facilities. Ito naman. Ito yung mga kaso, itong table na ito, nag-represent mga cases na non-human rights. And out of the 1,231, they have found out 724 of them are non-human rights related. So dapat hindi rin sa amin, pero in-assist namin, and sila yung mga types of concern namin during the quarantine period. So kasi hindi naman siya nag-involve ng public official, assault lang ng private, and ang victim ay hindi belonging sa marginalized or vulnerable sector. Bullying, yung common crimes namin. Demolition. Demolition could either be a violation by the government or yung demolition ng may order na ng court and private property yung involved. So So, kaya hindi namin siya makategorize as human rights violation. ECQ implementation related issue, hindi pa rin namin siya makategorize na paglabag ng karapatang pantao kasi yung iba, hindi naman siya nagbibigay ng physical punishment, minsan fines, and yung iba doon, nagre-reklamo. Yung harassment, hindi rin namin makonsider na human rights violation siya dahil ang involved ay private individual and ang victim ay hindi rin naman kabilang sa vulnerable, disadvantaged, or marginalized sector. Our legal advice and counseling, labor-related concerns, locally stranded individuals, and then yung mga non-payments of rents, contract disputes, which is really big in number. Then, provision of government assistance, the DSAP, dapat ito ay sa DSWD, pero inassist pa rin po namin sila. Request for financial assistance and violation of right to health, dapat sa DOH. Okay. Ito po yung mga example ng kaso during the quarantine. So, bigyan ko po kayo ng isang sample na human rights violation naman para pumata. So, ito ang naka-allege sa kanya ay torture and extortion request for investigation. So, yung mga violators daw sa nasa nabotas, na-detain sila and nire-require sila magbayad ng 3,500 para ma-release daw yung kikindo. So, ang ginawa po namin ay sumulat kami. Since hindi rin kami pwedeng lumabas during the lockdown, nag-work from home kami. So, nag-request kami ng assistance sa Office of the Mayor of Nabotas and sumulat din kami doon sa police station involved. As of the moment, yung mga involved dito ay hindi na sila nag-cooperate. Ayaw din nila magbigay ng mga pangalan nila. Siguro ko for fear of retaliation. Pero na-release naman sila. Ito naman, isang example naman ng labor-related issue during the ECQ. Si job order driver siya ng BIFAR and ang sabi niya, hindi na daw siya nakatanggap ng kanyang salary since April dahil hindi siya nag-report and hindi na siya na-include sa skeletal workforce. Ano yung ginawa po namin? So, nirefer namin sila sa Department of Labor, NCR Director, and then tumawag din po ang DOL. In-advise namin si Mr. X na tumawag sa DOL and in-advise din namin siya na mag-inquire baka naman nakalista siya as one of the SAP grantee. Related naman po sa amelioration program. Nakaka-receive kami sa hotline namin or email namin. So, ito yung mga platform namin during the quarantine period. Sa text, ganito po yung itsura ng pag hingi nila ng request. So, register daw ng pangalawang number is form. And then, kung paano kami tumugon, sumusulat po kami sa DSWD and the DSWD sa NCR. Kinaka-copy furnish po namin yung mga local government unit na involved. So, at kung ano po yung mga pinrovide naming assistance, sabi namin sila ni-refer. Rental dispute. Ito ay non-human rights violation, pero since siya ay legal assistance, in-assist po namin siya. So, nag-inquire siya kung pwede daw ba siyang may evict sa kanyang apartment dahil sa non-payment of rents for more than 6 months, considering na under community quarantine tayo. Nagbigay po tayo ng advice sa kanya. We took into consideration the provisions of the Bayanihan Act law, especially on loan moratorium and contract moratorium program. And then, example of a dispute with the barangay. Ang sabi niya dito, hindi barangay official yung kanyang nirereklamo, kundi yung kapwa niya. So sabi niya, pero naging involved na rin si barangay captain. Lumipat daw siya ng bahay. Na-strand daw siya. Uli doon sa bahay. Gusto niya humingi ng tulong sa amin kung paano ba. Siguro hindi na siya maaabala muna. Kasi meron siyang private person na kaaway at nagkaroon sila ng meeting sa barangay pero hindi mukhang pumabor sa kanya. Ginawa namin, ibinalik ulit namin siya kay barangay. So sumulat kami kay Barangay West Rembo para naman siya ang umaksyon. Considering na local government unit siya, siya yung pinaka-basic na may hingian ng tulong ng ating mga residente. Issue on condominium, dapat ito ay HLURB, pero nagpunta sa amin. Siguro ko ang iniisip nila ay karapatan nila sa housing. So, ang ginawa po namin ay, pasensya na kayo fixated. Nirefer namin siya sa HLURB. Bakit po hindi namin pwedeng hindi aksyonan? So, ito makikita nyo without, it's outside our jurisdiction, pero inaksyonan po namin. Kung hindi, kami ay magre-report sa aming executive director kung ano yung naging action namin. So, kaya nga, wala nang choice. Hindi na rin kami nag-filter ng kaso. Lahat ina-action na namin as much as possible. Pero ito po sana ang mga ganitong concern, ang hihingian namin ng tulong sa inyo. Kung kayo ay makakatulong sa amin sa pag-draft ng mga referral, siguro po much appreciated yung kasi ma-unburden po. Lalo na po siguro sa CHR, e-lawyering group. Ito, isa pang example po ng non-human rights violation. Complaint sa internet reconnection niya. Siya ay taga Marikina. Noong una, we thought okay na yung situation niya since na-reconnect naman siya. Ang una naming aksyon ay sumulat sa PLDT and i-copy-furnish sana si NTC. Kaya lang tumawag yung investigator in charge, sabi, na-reconnect na. Ang advice namin doon sa nag-assist is mag-email siya to confirm lang na ang concern ay assisted and resolved na. Kaya lang nag-reply po itong si complainant. Ang sabi niya, I'm hoping that our government can do something about private companies who enslave their people depending on their services. Because of the disconnected internet service, I was not able to report forums work and my kids weren't able to attend their online school. Ang valid naman, kaya ang ginawa ko namin ay nag-sympathize, of course, and then dahil sa inconvenience na natanggap niya, and nilagay namin dito briefly kung ano ba yung sakop ng jurisdiction namin. So, parang positive scripting lang na hindi naman namin siya nasabi, hindi namin ito within our jurisdiction. Pero pinrovide namin siya ng solution as our way of providing legal assistance or legal remedy, access to legal remedy. So, sinabi namin na pwede niyang i-express yung kanyang grievance sa PLDT and i-copy furnish na lang niya sa NTC pati kami para at least ma-monitor namin. Another example is maternity leave, concern on maternity leave. Ito makikita niyo, isa siyang sundalo and humingi siya ng legal advice kung siya ba ay entitled daw sa maternity leave. So, na-advise po natin siya na, oo naman, entitled siya. Pero kailangan niyang sumulat o humingi according sa RA 11210, kailangan niyang humingi sa head ng kanyang institution. Tapos i-copy-furnish niya yung Gender and Development Office ng Philippine Army and Armed Forces. Mukhang ito ay na-resolve naman. Another is issue on right of way. Dapat ito ay local government. So sa may Paranaque, sumulat at walang ang ipinlash ko na lang po sa inyo is yung action namin. So sumulat po kami kay chairman on the concern about passageway doon sa homeowners ang Bliss Multinational Village na para actionan niya. Ano ba yung dynamics po ng opisina ng NCR during the quarantine period? Tinatanggap po namin itong mga complaints, kaya bakit siya electronic? Because we receive complaints via complaints requests for concerns via Facebook page, Messenger, email, and hotline. Yung katulad ng mga example na ipinakita ko sa inyo kanina. So mula March 16, kung kailan kami physically hindi na nagtrabaho sa opisina, up to May 30, ang ginagawa po namin ay yung officer in charge namin, nag-a-assign siya ng 6 to 7 duty officers every day. Kinocompose ko siya ng isang lawyer, dahil tatlo kami, isang lawyer, 2 hanggang 3 investigator, 1 information officer, and 1 admin officer para maghaling-hinan doon sa types of concern. And after na-lift po ang emergency quarantine na period, ng June hanggang present, meron pa rin, nagko-comply kami sa 20% na skeletal workforce to fill in here in the office kasi simula nun, meron ng mga physical na pupunta sa opisina. So para i-assist sila, 20% po ng workforce namin ay nagre-report. The rest, duty sila online. like this. So every day ina-assign sila to check on the emails, Facebook, Messenger, and hotline. Ano yung challenge namin? Nakita niyo po, 1,231 against 3 lawyers, against 12 investigators. Hindi po namin talaga kaya, pinipilit namin. Meron pa po doong mga hindi na-actionan real time, pero ginagawa namin yung lahat para ma-providean sila ng tulong. Wala kaming tao. Yan naman yung hinaing ng other government office din. Kulang po kami sa human resources, kaya nagtatap kami ng mga non-government office for free legal aid group na tumulong po sa amin para magbigay ng assistance sa ating mga kliyente dito sa NCR. Dahil ang function po ng isang lawyer na nagbibigay ng legal assistance or counseling ay hindi naman doon lang sa pagdadraft ng resolution. Pero yun po yung pinaka-main core namin. Nagdraft kami ng resolution. Nagbibigay din kami ng legal advice, legal assistance, since one of our functions yan, constitutional mandate. And we serve also as as resource person in human rights education program aside from our promotion. And kapag kailangan po. And then we also investigate, especially high-profile case and sensitive cases like involving women and children. We also serve as focal persons in human rights thematic concerns, kung saan umaten kami ng mga meetings, activities, focus group discussion, and we also prepare reports. We also draft policy advisory, situationer, and involved na kami sa research, and sinasabit po namin siya sa aming advisory office ng CHR Central, and of course, bumibisita po kami sa GF. Marami po kaming ginagawa, bukod pa din sa 1,231 na kaso. Ano po yung effort namin? Meron kaming conscious effort na i-assist talaga sila. Ano, humihingi rin kami ng assistance sa ating competent government agency and non-government offices like Public Attorney's Office, National Bureau of Investigation, Department of Justice, and other law groups association like Integrated Bar of the Philippines. Noong quarantine period, ang naging project po ng NCR together with the Atty Human Rights Center and other legal service aid ay maggawa ng tinatawag ng Virtual Assistance Hub. Meron kaming kasama ang ating Diola, kayo, San Sebastian, IBP PAO, Ideal, Saligan, Center Law, ALSC, Ateneo Legal Service Center, De La Salle, Alternative Law Groups, MUPL, San Beda Legal Bureau. So ang ginawa po ni Ateneo, ginather niya lahat ng mga nabanggit ng offices, and some of them went and participated on February 5, offline paghilom for affidavit taking and legal advice. So maraming mga kliyente po naman assist dyan. And then, may sumunod po dyan bago kami nag virtual assistance hub during the quarantine. A learning session. Nag-share po ng mga experience and requirements ang bawat opisina kung paano sila makakatulong. On April 2, binuksan po namin yung virtual legal hub. Ang kasama dito ay of course PAO, which we are always grateful po, IBP, San Beda, NUPL, Center Law, HR, CALC, and IDLs. Ano po ba yung mga ginagawa nila or ino-offer nilang tulong? Legal advice, affidavit taking, and legal representation, subject to indigency. And out of the 1,231 cases, nakapag-refer po kami ng 21 cases. Bakit kaunti? Meron po kasi silang merits and fitness test din bukod sa indigency. Meron silang mga kaso na pwede lamang nilang tanggapin. And napakalaking tulong na po yun sa amin. Dahil hindi naman ito yung priority nila, meron din silang mga main task nila as an independent legal group. And then kami ay on voluntary basis lang. So kung ano yung requirements nila, yun lamang po yung sinusunod namin. So, ayun po. Kung meron po kayong mga tanong, syempre hindi nyo ako makakausap ngayon. Pwede nyo po akong i-email sa CHR_NCR2017@yahoo.com, or pwede nyo rin naman pong i-course sa ating legal office, e-lawyering group headed by Attorney Arlene Ben. So, umaasa po ako na makatulong po kayo sa CHR-NCR. Maraming pong salamat.
Okay, yan po si Attorney Diola. Maraming salamat. Nakita natin yung mga halimbawa ng mga issues na sinagot ng NCR office. Kung mapupunan ninyo, marami-rami ang mga queries na hindi niya tinalagang human rights violations or issues, pero tinugunan pa rin ito ng NCR. Kaya makakaasa tayo na ganun din ang kakaharapin nating ng ating mga interns at volunteer lawyers sa ating e-lawyering service. Nakita rin natin na kailangan talaga ng tulong ng komisyon para tugunan ang maraming kahilingan para sa legal assistance, HR and non-HR related. Kaya salamat uli sa UP OLA, Professor Vistan, para sa pagtugon sa pangangailangang ito. At this point, we would also like to acknowledge the presence of supervising lawyers from UP OLA, Attorneys Bayan Quiñones and Noris Castillo. Welcome. Again, we encourage you to post your questions via the Q&A box. Ngayon, meron akong natutunang bago courtesy of our Gen Z and Millennial staff members. Wellness breakdown. Pahinga muna tayo ng, shall we say, 3 minutes? Okay, stretch our legs. Let's get back in 3 minutes, okay? Wellness break tayo.
Nadila nakaposas kataway pa ipaglalaban ko.
All right, thank you. Welcome back. Just a time check. We're 25 minutes off schedule. So what we will do is to do away with the first Q&A and defer all the questions to our second Q&A portion. In the meantime, we only have one question anyway. So again, please use our Q&A chat box for your questions, and we will attend to your questions in the latter part of the training session. Thank you. Our next presentation will be from the Legal Division of the CHR, which is one of the offices participating in the current e-lawyering service that is being implemented by the Commission today. May I turn you over to Attorney Jenin Rosanne Velasquez, Attorney 4 in the Legal Division. Welcome, Attorney Jenin Rosanne.
Hello, can you hear me,
Yes,
everyone?
loud and clear, Attorney.
Okay, so I'll just share my screen. While I'm doing that, I'd like to first say hello to UP Ola interns. I was also a UP Law Ola intern some years ago. Hindi ko na sabihin kailan, but it was a very good experience for me, and I hope that um, I hope that it will also be a good experience uh, for all of you, as it has been for me. Just give me a few seconds. I'm just gonna try to. Right. Okay. Uh, Hear me loud and clear. Um, to begin, I'd like to thank Attorney Teresa, even though she's not here, because she already gave a really extensive overview and actually a detailed look into what we do. The functions of the regional offices and the regional offices and the legal division in the central office are quite different, but with respect to the legal aid services part, it's quite similar. It's very similar, except that we don't do the actual investigation. So, a brief background. As I said, it was already very similar. Prior to the pandemic, we already provided legal aid services to clients, which include legal counseling and in very specific cases, legal representation. And we did this through walk-in clients, phone, and digital through email and social media channels. But at that time, it was really predominantly walk-in clients. But with the COVID-19 pandemic and the imposition of the ECQ, we had to really change gears mid-March and try to uh, look at our functions and improve upon our legal assistance services with respect to electronic means. So we started the CHR e-lawyering services, and it's still ongoing. And due to the influx of requests, um, we are happy that this initiative with this partnership with UP Ola has been made. So because Attorney Tere already provided a really good overview of what happens, my lecture will actually really just focus on sample legal queries. Why? Because as students who will answer these queries, I want you to have an idea of what we actually answer, how we do respond to this. And as similar to what Attorney Jonas said, it's primarily if there is legal as advice that we could give, given the facts that were provided to us. We give them, and when appropriate, we refer them either to a concerned government agency or for investigation with the regional offices when appropriate. So let's move on to the specific sample legal queries that we have these are actual cases that we have encountered since March to present. So since this is indeed a creation of COVID-19, a lot of the questions were COVID-19 related. And in this case, um, as you can see, what happened here was that the client was actually an employee of a government hospital. And if I remember correctly, she was already found positive of COVID-19, and she was asking for permission from her superiors to take a leave so that she could quarantine for self-isolation. But she had a co-employee who allegedly accused her of faking her illness and gave her like a verbal humiliation in front of the other staff. And she had complained about it to our office. So in the legal advice we sent to her through email, she sent her queries through email. We told her that she could file an administrative complaint against her co-employee parsing it through the Civil Service Commission Regional Office. And we also told her that she should write a letter to the head of the actual hospital itself so that they could conduct investigation themselves. So it is COVID-19 related, but it's I would say somewhat private concern, but we had to answer it. So another COVID-19 related query that we had to answer is that one of the clients inquired whether an immunocompromised person who was also waiting for the results of his swab test, but he went outside his residence. He was asking if he could have violated a law. I remember this question. This was exactly his email. But syempre vernacular. Taglish niya Tapos when we were researching for this question, wala kaming mahanap na talagang specific na yung with respect to this particular case. So we had to really at the time, I think this was in April or May, and we had to like connect. So in the end, what we decided was that you have to check your ordinances in your locality where you are based and see if this is included and that you could have violated the law. Pero yun nga, minention din namin na under the Republic Act 11332, history of exposure to a confirmed case will require you to undergo self-quarantine or isolation. At this point, I have to remind, I know it is already discussed by our CHAD, pero when you answer these queries, I think it still needs to be said. You have to answer in a language which the client understands. So if he gives a query in Filipino, you have to answer in Filipino. Struggle siya minsan kasi may mga ibang law words na mahirap i-translate into Filipino. But you have to really try. Pero pag English naman yung query nila, feel free to answer in English. Pag Taglish, pwede mo rin gawing Taglish. Ang important lang that you have to speak in a language that they really will understand. So make it as layman as possible. And one important thing that you have to remember is that from the very beginning of the reply to the query, whether it is personal, through phone, or email, you have to remind them that your advice will be solely based on the information that we will give now. So if merong developments to the case, or meron silang information na hindi dinivulge, magbabago yung advice. It is very important that you give this kasi syempre, baka babalik sa atin yan na and actually kaya possibly baka mali yung advice na binigay natin kasi they weren't being fully honest about the situation. So you have to give that caveat at the very beginning of the response to the legal advice. So next, as mentioned by Attorney Diola kanina, in the Constitution, sa Constitution nakalagay talaga na dapat mag-priority or magbigay ng legal assistance sa tinatawag naming MDV, marginalized, disadvantaged, vulnerable sectors of society. Pero in practice, we really give legal advice to all sectors of society, wide spectrum of cases, private or no. And pag di namin masagot dahil hindi namin jurisdiction or yun nga, kulang information, we have to refer to other offices. But we still always have to reply. So this one, for example, this is still COVID-19 related, but it is actually more of property law. So in this case, what happened was that the client was renting a room for 6 years without a written contract. Tapos pinapaalis na siya ng lessor niya dahil mag-undergo ng renovation. So tinatanong niya, pwede ba kami paalisin? Tapos pwede ba namin gamitin yung moratorium under the BAHO Act that was prevailing under that time para hindi sila magbayad ng rents at hindi sila pwede paalisin. Tapos sinabi namin na yun nga, na a lessor is allowed to judicially evict his or her lessee to make necessary repairs of the leased premises. Pero may priority sila na bumalik. Tapos, sinabi rin namin na hindi pwede invoke yung bayanihan to heal as one because it involves failure to pay the residential dues. And in this case, the client was actually paying religiously. So, other cases naman na hindi COVID-19 related, ito yung mga usual cases na ina-associate mo sa CHR, mga detention-related cases. So ito, the client has a brother who was allegedly arrested by a policeman during a buy-bust operation and currently detailed in Antipolo, Rizal. According to the client, his brother has already undergone inquest proceedings. Tinatanong niya kung pwede ba nilang kasuhan ng serious illegal detention yung mga policemen. Tapos kung pwede ba magpa-apply ng bail yung kuya niya, yung kapatid niya. So sugat namin, syempre, as you all know, as all the students, hindi pwedeng serious illegal detention. Kasi police yung nag-detain sa kanya. So hindi pwede. Tapos sinabi rin namin na pwedeng mag-apply yung kapatid niya sa bail. So in this case, I have to highlight an important point. You can't just spout off legal doctrines or principles. You have to give them actual, concrete steps that they will take. So in this case, sabi namin, Sir, ma'am, magpatulong po kayo sa PAO, sa Public Attorney's Office ng inyong locality kung saan siya naka-detain. Tapos sila yung magbibigay sa inyo ng tawag doon, ng procedure or guide on how to post bail. In some instances, we provide actually referrals to the Public Attorney's Office pag hinihingi nila. Pero in this case kasi, after namin ibigay yung reply, extremely satisfied na yung client. So, that ends the client relationship unless they email again. So, sunod. Another case which is very prevalent now, we receive a lot of this, is cases involving cyber libel or cybercrime laws. Ang unique lang dito sa case na to ay yung client yung the one who was making the fake Facebook accounts. And she asked us actually if she is liable for cyber libel and or identity theft. And we answered that based on the given facts, only the given facts again, kasi kailangan i-remind namin na based lang sa sinabi nila, na under the Cybercrime Act, RA 10175, computer-related identity theft refers to intentional acquisition, use of identifying information belonging to another. In this case, yung client used computer-generated names in making various fake accounts. Tapos these Facebook accounts she used to privately message neighbor and family members who she alleged previously humiliated her. So hindi rin pasok sa libel kasi private message. However, we warned her that she could still be liable under other crimes. For example, unjust vexation, ang walang kamatayang unjust vexation, or yung Safe Spaces Act. So this is also a unique case, and you may be asked to handle cases not just from the point of a victim, but even from someone who may have committed something that may be a crime or maybe wrong. So next, another type of case which is very common for e-lawyering that we have encountered, not just for e-lawyering, but prior to the pandemic. Sorry. Sorry. Nasambid lang. So, in this case, the client gave birth a month ago and is currently unemployed, and her partner, who is employed, wants to take custody of the child. She asked, can he take the child? And we gave her the response that I know that you also know, that mothers have priority with respect to custody of children who are under 7 years old. And we also told her that she could file for support from the partner who is employed to support their children. Tapos next, violence, it's a case involving Bausi. As mentioned earlier, don't know if you remember, the CHR is designated as the gender ombud. So we are also tasked to give legal assistance to cases involving gender-based discrimination and violence, which includes cases under VAUC. So ito, nag-file siya ng case for VAUC against a former partner, tsaka isang administrative case. Kami, ang CHR lawyering team, ang ginawa namin, we referred the case to CHR Regional Office 4A, and we also sent a letter to MMDA to expedite the case that she already filed. And so, yon. So, magsisend ka ng letter na referral, tapos i-refer mo sa appropriate offices. Pero huwag mong kakalimutan sabihan yung kliyente na may ginawang actions. Kasi minsan nakakalimutan you just do the task, but you fail to inform the client that you already did these referrals for him or her. So next, as earlier said, wide spectrum. Ito, lands rights issue. They were occupying the land based only on tolerance of their relative. Tinanong nila, pwede ba sila paalisin? O, property law class, ano sasagutin nyo? Opo, pwede sila paalisin kasi wala silang claim dahil pinsan lang nila, ay lolo lang nila, tapos yung pinsan nila yung may right. So, nga lang, under property law, pwede nilang hingin yung reimbursement for the necessary expenses. So, as you can see, when you're answering these queries, it involves a lot of wide variety of knowledge that you have already gained in law school, and you will be able to apply them. Kasi kailangan mo, tapos matinding research ang gagawin mo kasi syempre buhay at property nila yung nakataya at aasa sila sa inyo syempre. So next. Ito, creditor, imposition of high interest rate, usual question, pwede ba harassment, hindi pwedeng i-harass. Tapos sinabi namin, dahil unwritten yung interest, technically bawal. So, yung mga ganyang tanong. So, sales, in credit, alalahanin nyo na yung mga napag-aralan nyo. Ito pa, another important type of legal query that we receive are queries from persons deprived of liberty. In this case, the client, a PDL, sought the assistance of the CHR inquiring as to whether the promulgation of a court decision against him may still be modified or set aside. Yung sagot namin, this is not verbatim by the way ha, linagay lang namin to, pero we advise the client about yung mga procedure. So, nakalagay na dyan, she can motion MR, appeal, tapos ilang araw, para ma-explain fully sa client, may idea siya paano nila mababalik yung, paano ma-set aside yung case nila or paano pwede pambaguhin. Another common question is application for parole or commutation of sentence. Pag mga ganitong instances, ang ginagawa ng CHR e-lawyering team at yung CHR itself is that we refer these cases to the Bureau of Corrections themselves para pwede nilang tignan yung kaso. So sinusulat namin yung circumstance. So this is actually a sample letter. Refer to your good office the request, tapos we ask that it will be evaluated. So these are sample referrals that we make. And this one that we also received, it involved cadavers of persons died due to COVID-19 were not brought to the hospital morgue. Instead, they were placed inside the cells of PDL. And what we did was that we wrote a letter. This is all just the body of the letter already. We did not add the caption. Pero yun nga, we told the addressees, the concerned agencies about the possible issues that we arise, and we told them if they could investigate it and to tell us as soon as possible about any developments in this case. So, I am on time. Good job. So, these are just sample cases that you will be able to, you may receive. These are sample common cases that we receive. So, as you can see, answering these cases really require, now I wouldn't say a complete, pero it would require skills that you have attained throughout law school of looking at a question, looking at the issues, and then researching. The good thing about this case, this type of e-lawyering, is that you don't really need the information like memorized or at the fingertips. What you need are really the skills to look at the issue and to know where to find the answer. So I wish you good luck. I really, really loved my OLA experience several years ago. And again, good luck and see you on the other side of the bar. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Jenin Rosanne, for that very spirited presentation. After the sampling of queries attended to by the various offices in CHR, now we go on to tips on how we can sharpen our legal and investigative method. We have Attorney Jasmin Regino, Director of the Protection Cluster of the Commission. She will talk about paralegal techniques and metalegal strategies. Attorney Jas?
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
May I be allowed to share my screen?
Yes, Direct.
Okay na ba?
Jonas, okay ba tayo for sharing?
Hi, Attorney Jazz. Yes, you're enabled to share screen.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Before I proceed with my topic for today, I would like to thank you, Piola, kasi malaking tulong mo kayo sa amin. And as earlier stated by Attorney K of CHAD, we have actually 25 regional offices at sinabi ni Attorney Tere naman ng NCR, kulang na kulang ho kami sa mga abogado. Although this expanded e-lawyering is focused more or being piloted in NCR, but I guess susunod na araw or taon, pwedeng i-cascade ito sa ating mga regional offices. So my topic for today is paralegal techniques, meta-legal strategies, and practical tips. Siguro papalitan ko lang na techniques, more on siguro skills on what a paralegal should have. So the first and foremost that we should have as a skill is the communication skill. At kasama din dito yung siguro listening skill. When we speak of communication, we talk a lot, right? Like whatever platform that we receive a complaint, a case, phone, email, we have to talk a lot. And not only that, not only talking, but I think we should also have a listening skill. Hindi yung hearing. Hearing and listening are two different things. So dapat pakinggan natin yung ating client kung ano yung kanyang sinasabi. And I think it was stated earlier by Attorney Jenin na dapat we have to laymanize. Kasi majority of the clients of the Commission on Human Rights, hindi, yung iba ay hindi nakapag-aral. So kung ano yung lingwaheng ginagamit nila, yun din yung ating lingwaheng gagamitin na magkakaintindihan both parties. And so I think ito yung dapat na magkaroon tayo, and we should express our thoughts clearly. And another one is the writing skill. While you are entertaining a client, you should take down notes as well. So number 2 and number 12 are more or less connected. We have to write. Like if let's say the client would want to ask for assistance in drafting an affidavit, complaint affidavit. So we have to write, we have to listen well to what the other end or what the client says. So also, this one is connected with attention to detail. Marami ho kasi kaming kaso as a former regional director of Region 3. May mga kaso kami na na-dismiss because yung complaint affidavit ng ating kliyente kulang-kulang. So dapat tayo as a paralegal, we should have also this skill, attention to detail. I think you learned in law school na pag nagpa-file tayo ng mga cases, dapat yung tinatawag na elements of the crime or the infraction itself should be written in the complaint affidavit that we will be drafting, just in case our client would want to file a complaint. And another one, number 3, is the research and investigative skills. So sabi nga ni Attorney Jenin kanina na malaking hamon para sa mga paralegals natin na magkaroon talaga ng kaalaman sa pagre-research. I think investigating legal research methods make paralegals adept at mastering internet research and learning to analyze case information. Kami kasi, dahil hindi naman sa may katandaan na or what, minsan nangangapa din kami kung paano gamitin yung technology now. So research, technology, more or less, they go hand in hand. Because when we receive complaints from our clients, more often than not, it's more on email as far as e-lawyering services is concerned. So kung hindi, walang kaalaman kung paano sumagot, kung paano, but I think everybody does now. And then number 5 skill is the organization. Napakahirap when we are accepting or assisting a client, we are ourselves are disorganized. So dapat organized na ho tayo, hindi yung kalat-kalat yung ating sinasabi sa ating mga kliyente. And another skill that you should have is multitasking. Multitasking means that you should also be flexible at the drop of a hat. Hindi yung, ay, may gagawin ako dito. Hindi. Dapat kaya lahat. So we should hone our skills in multitasking. So I think I discussed also attention to detail with regard to filing of cases. And work batching also is the same as organizing our thoughts. And number 9 also is gather all needed information in advance. So this one is more on the filing of cases or sa investigation, like you should have a plan. But if let's say the client would want, if it involves, let's say, human rights violation, and the case or the assistance that should be given to the client is investigation, that should be referred either to the investigation office of the CHR central office or to the concerned regional offices. Ito, importante din po yung pag-proofread. Kasi marami dahil sa pagmamadali natin, minsan hindi na natin na papasadahan uli yung ating ginawa. At kung minsan, marami ding mga kaso din or nakakasuhan din ng mga empleyado dahil sa maling paggawa or pagbigay din ng legal assistance sa mga kliyente. Napakahirap din po, especially as considered as government employees. We are under civil service laws and rules. Kaya nga meron ho kaming feedback mechanism doon. If let's say a dissatisfied client, sinasagot ho natin yan. Kung okay lang sana siguro kung sa ano lang namin yan, yung sa feedback mechanism namin internally. What if the client would file because dissatisfied siya, mali yung ating sinabi sa kanya or yung advice or assistance that we gave them? There are many other fora that they could file a complaint. Hindi ko kayo tinatakot dito. Gusto ko lang sabihin na dapat yung pabigay nating assistance sa tao, yung nararapat para sa kanila. And then also number 11 is we have to stay updated on system changes. So this one is also part of the technology. So hindi pwede yung ginagamit na, lalo na ho kasi sa CHR, may lalo na sa internet earlier on. So but this one does not really apply on system changes, but I'm just basing on experience as far as earlier I was breaking up na nawala ho ako kanina dahil yung aking internet naman dito sa bahay how do you say that, breaking up. And 12, I think I discussed this earlier, taking good notes. So as I said, we should listen, we should communicate well dun sa ating kliyenteng ina-assistihan. And number 13 is setting reminders. Setting reminders also is organizing and work batching. And I think it was not stated here. We should also add professionalism here. Number 14 would be the skill that we should have is professionalism. And I should add another more is teamwork. Hindi lang ho tayo ang magtatrabaho dito mag-isa, meron ho tayong mga kasamahan. So I think we should be a good team player. Now we go to meta-legal strategies. What are meta-legal strategies? These are created concerted actions by communities using their constitutionally guaranteed basic human rights to protect and promote their rights and interests. In contrast to the strictly legal approaches used by traditional legal aid practitioners, meta-legal strategies cover the whole gamut of options and thus are not limited by the boundary of what is strictly legal, provided, of course, that these actions are within their guaranteed rights. Examples would be freedom of expression, right to petition the government for redress of grievances, right to freedom of assembly, right to free association, right to freedom of religion, and right to information. So these are just some of the meta-legal strategies. So example again of these rights or what we call meta-legal actions are resort to media. Marami yung mga kliyente natin na pag nakikita nilang yung kanilang complaint o yung kanilang grievance ay hindi pinapansin, ang ginagawa nila ay magpapa-media sila. When I was a regional director here, there was a case that I referred to a certain government office. Unfortunately, they did not act on it. You know what? The complainant came to our office with GMA 7 in tow. So anong nakita nilang napamedya na yung kaso ng tao, agad-agad umaksyon na yung ating government office. So that is just a classic example of a meta-legal strategy. Another one is entering into a dialogue, mediation. Modesty aside, I started the conciliation and mediation service of the Commission on Human Rights. Before we call it, I think you know it as well, we call it the Alternative Dispute Resolution. But since we are not a court or neither a quasi-judicial agency, we are now using conciliation and mediation. Sabi nga ni Attorney Tere kanina, even if it is not anymore within our jurisdiction, we still entertain clients. Because if you try to read our constitutional mandate, our focus is more on the civil and political rights violations. But we have what we call the vulnerable sectors. As long as it involves, the case involves marginalized, vulnerable sectors, then CHR will give assistance. So ito yung mga tinatawag nating economic, social, and cultural rights violations. Like sa investigation office po, we have actually 3 hotlines. So marami yung mga kaso natin, like yung mga example kanina ni Attorney Tere, like internet connection, sa amin naman ay yung kanilang rent. Minsan naman pati yung kagat ng aso ay dinadala ho sa amin. Kung tutuusin, ano na ho yun, right? Pang barangay level na lang yung kagat ng aso. But nonetheless, we should still give assistance because still, maybe it's not really the mandate of the commission, but we have to give assistance because it involves ESCR. And then another meta-legal is the petition or signature campaign. So if you want, let's say, a case, a matter to be viral, ika nga, we can petition or do what we call signature campaign. And another one is lobbying. Like yung ginagawa natin ngayon, like they would want to, the minimum age of criminal responsibility, they would want to make it higher. So ang gagawin natin is we lobby. Pupuntahan natin yung ating mga kongresista o yung ating mga solons para more or less ma-influensyahan sila. Yung ganun. And even the death penalty, we've been heavily lobbying. So that's another meta-legal strategy. And another one is, ito pang sabi nga, international pressure. Yung iba dadalhin na sa ibang bansa or call the attention of the committee, o like sa UN, yung mga ganun. So, yon another meta-legal strategy. Ito siguro yung mass action or protests. So, like earlier, merong parang a youth strike. Palaging ginagamit yung aming liwasang Bonifacio, but they're doing it peacefully. So, these are actually examples of meta-legal strategies. Now, with regard to, if let's say there's an instance wherein you would entertain a client and the client would want you to draft a complaint affidavit. These are just some of the practical tips. I think you've learned about this, the SOS. Ang panahon naman namin, ang tawag namin ay KISS, keep it short and simple. Nagbago na pala siya ngayon, SOS na. Simple, organized, and short. Try try to make your affidavit as simple as possible. Use simple words and sentences. Hindi na yung mga highfalutin words yung gagamitin natin because mas maganda na yung ating affidavit is somewhat laymanized na anybody for that matter na pwedeng magbasa at umintindi ay maintindihan yung ating affidavit instead of using archaic language kasi marami pa rin ho yung mga gumagamit ng mga archaic na pero as much as possible we try to make it simple and laymanized. Another is our affidavit should be organized. So if your affidavit is organized, it is easier, not only for the judge or any hearing officer for that matter, would understand what is going on. Remember, judges or hearing officer like to see facts, not broad general statements. In most cases, it is best to tell what happened in chronological order. It's like laying the predicate, ika nga. Do not jump all over the place from one time period to another. Tell your story in a straight line. At yung sinabi ko din kanina, make sure yung sa affidavit natin, nandun na din yung mga elements of the crime or the administrative charge for that matter. Last is the short. Keep your affidavit short. Decide what is necessary to put in your affidavit. If it is, let's say, a complaint for arbitrary detention, so nandun dapat yung mga elemento ng arbitrary detention. Sentences should be less than 10 words. Ano lang naman ito, like less than 10 words, recommendatory. Kasi kung kailangan naman dapat na habaan natin yung ating affidavit, then baka kasi maapektuhan naman yung substance ng ating complaint, then we should include. Edit your affidavit and break the long sentences into short sentences. This does not mean you ignore important matters. However, if your affidavit is short, it allows both you, the judge, the hearing officer, to focus on the important matters. Okay, collation of evidence, but I think I would forgo with this. This is more on for investigators, but if you would refer the case of a client to certain government agencies, these are the practical tips. Establish not really a formal partnership, but more of a rapport, I think. And then, let's say sa DSWD, kasi sabi nga kanina, like yung data given by Attorney K, Biscayda, and the data given by Attorney Diola, it's more on SAP, yung amelioration assistance na binibigay during the pandemic. So we have to identify who is the focal person of that agency. Kasi ang mangyayari if you would just write, let's say the secretary or the regional director of NCR of the DSWD, tendency is matatagalan po. So i-ano na natin yung ating referral letter, naka-attention na kung sino yung focal person for that SAP rather. And then also, if you want, I think this one also, as I said earlier, it's a meta-legal strategy, the conduct of a dialogue. If you can, let's say a client would want immediate help, pwede nang pag-usapan, tawagan yung concerned government agency. Usually, yun din po ang ginagawa ng CHR. Kung nagmamadali, not necessarily, kasi it would take some time if you draft a letter, and this one should still be reviewed by your supervisor or your superior. Now, yung agaran ba, immediacy, there's urgency, then you can talk to the concerned government official. And also, we should be gender sensitive. So as a gender ombud, we advocate for that. Let's say ang kliyente mo ay part of the LGBTIQA++ community, maging conscious tayo sa pakikipag-usap sa kanila. As an experience, one time I was invited to talk over the radio regarding yung mga prostituted women. So, being a gender ombud, yung bago-bago lang po yung pagiging gender ombud namin, and we have not yet undergone what we call orientation and seminar on the matter. Nadulas ho ako. I said prostitute, and somebody called my attention that it should be prostituted women because they are considered as victims of circumstances daw. So, yung mga ganon. So, maging conscious tayo sa ating pagsasalita. And adopt a proactive and long-term communication strategies. So I think that's the end of my presentation. On that note, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Director Jazz. Okay, again, we will be deferring questions to after all the speakers have made their presentation. We know that we have 2 questions so far. At this point, may we ask our students again to kindly type in your names into the chat box for record purposes. Okay, we now proceed to the presentation of our current model for the operational protocols of the e-lawyering service. If you recall, in our October 24 training session, we also had a presentation on the procedures for implementing our e-lawyering service, which presentation was made by Mr. Jonas Turingan. Since that time, our working model has been amended, and it is our updated operating protocols that will now be discussed by the project head of our e-lawyering service, Attorney Ona Caritos. Attorney Ona, may I call on you now to take the floor?
Hi, thank you, Rax. Good afternoon, our dear Ola interns. Good afternoon po to all our professors at UP Law, to Commissioner Cadiz, and to all colleagues at CHR. So, I'll be presenting. Let me share my screen first. Share my screen first. Here. All right. Yes. Again, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, our dear UP Ola interns. It's nice to be with Kaberks this afternoon. So I'll be presenting the current model of our HRELS protocols. But bear in mind that we'll be testing this in the next few days. And hopefully, if there are nuances or if there will be changes that we'll need to do in this protocols, we will do that. So please bear with us as we pilot this current version of our protocols for the ELS. So basically, my objective for this afternoon is to introduce you to HRELS, or Human Rights Expanded Lawyering Service, and what will be your role as a UP Ola intern. And I think in this Zoom meeting, we have 2 or 3 volunteer lawyers who will be part of our volunteer pool of lawyers. Hello, hello. So I'll be discussing also your role, and it will just be like the role of the UP Ola intern. So that will be my objective. This will be my two objectives for the next 10 minutes. Hopefully 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes of your time before we all have our delicious dinners later tonight. All right, just to give you an overview about CHR-ELS, it has two primary objectives. One is to provide immediate legal aid or legal assistance to actual or potential victims of human rights violations through use of technology. And you've heard from our colleagues at the CHR what they have done for the past few months, especially with an ongoing pandemic. And I know you're also familiar of course, you're familiar with what UP Ola has done to still accommodate clients despite the ongoing pandemic. So that's the first primary objective of the CHR-ELS. The second primary objective is to provide legal education, and the other one is provide policy recommendations to our Congress based on the inputs and insights that CHR will be getting from this project or from this advocacy. So three primary objectives for the service. And what are the activities? What are the primary activities of HRELS? One is educating the public about the different rights, civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights. Second, just like what I mentioned earlier, it's to prevent, mitigate, and minimize human rights violations through immediate legal aid or legal assistance. Third, and dito papasok ang UP Ola, dito papasok hopefully ang IBP, dito papasok ang volunteer pool of lawyers natin. We want to create a legal support network with lawyers, with law schools like UP Ola and hopefully Ateneo, NGOs and other government agencies. And just like what we heard from our colleagues at CHR, they need all the help that they could get from partner organizations like UP Ola, from volunteer lawyers, like the two lawyers that we have today. So we want that legal support network. Another activity is for those complex cases, an interagency committee, an interagency human rights committee will be formed. So complex cases will be referred to this committee composed of government agencies, not only CHR, but for example, agencies from the security forces, DSWD, DILG. So an interagency human rights committee will be formed to be led by CHR. And of course, the last activity is to make, again, policy recommendations based on the inputs, insights to be gathered from this advocacy project. Okay, so where will you figure in as a UP Ola intern or as a volunteer lawyer in this service or in this ELS project? You will figure in the HR cases or human rights cases to be referred to UP Ola or to be referred to you as a volunteer lawyer. And why would HR cases be referred to you? Because just like what you heard earlier, may mga araw o may mga period na punong-puno ang docket or ang workload ng ating mga CHR offices. So to help out CHR in days like this, human rights cases will be referred to UP Ola or to volunteer lawyers or any other organization. Another instance is for non-human rights cases which do not fall under CHR jurisdiction. They can also be referred to UP Ola, to volunteer partner law schools, to volunteer lawyers, and to other legal aid centers. Because the vision of this advocacy project is to include as many legal aid centers as possible. But of course, we have to start with UP Ola because, you know, UP Ola, you know that already. Hindi ko na sasabihin, but I'm from Ateneo, so okay. All right. So for the CHR-ELS operation details or the expanded lawyering service operation details, it will be from Monday to Friday. It will have two shifts, morning shift and an afternoon shift. Morning is from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, and the afternoon is from 1 to 5 p.m. And just to highlight this fact, Please do not confuse because majority of this afternoon, the different CHR offices were discussing their protocols on how they handle their cases or the complaints referred to their office or just the concerns or clients who directly go to their office. But just to remind everyone, please do not confuse the CHR office's protocols with your protocols, with UP OLA protocols. In cases referred to UP OLA, your rules, your guidelines, and policies will be followed. So kung ano po yung ginagawa nyo na ngayon as an intern in the office or in UP OLA, yun po yung susundan natin. We don't want to change the wheel or we don't want to sorry. We don't want to change anything in your program policy or your protocols. Okay, so that's already in place, and we don't want any distraction because this is additional work on your part, and this is additional instruction, additional work on your part, especially as a law student. And once a case is referred to you, the next point or points of contact is basically case updates. So someone from CHR, the dispatcher who referred the case to you, or a colleague from the Office of Commissioner Totsi Cadiz will be calling you up to ask for updates about the case referred to you as a UP OLA intern or as a volunteer lawyer. So yun na po yung next point or points of contact. Okay, so for example, CHR ELS refers a case to UP OLA. These are three situations. A conference call will be set up by the dispatcher if it's an urgent case. So it will be between the dispatcher, the UP OLA intern / volunteer lawyer, and the client. It can also be a conference call, but it will not be an urgent case, but the client is already available. So the dispatcher organizes a conference call again between him or her, the client, and you as an intern or a volunteer lawyer. And the next method of referral is email. And for cases which fall under this methodology or modality, these are not the urgent cases. So hindi kailangan ng tawag dito. This will just be emailed to your email. If you're a volunteer lawyer, and later I will be discuss if for UP OLA there's an email I think na centralized that we will be using for this project. Okay. Next, my internet is slow. Okay, good. So for the conference call, okay, let me start with the urgent cases. So a conference call will be organized by the dispatcher between the UP OLA intern and the client. Before the conference call, the dispatcher will call up the UP OLA team leader, and the dispatcher will brief the team leader or the intern concerned about the dispatcher will brief the intern about the client concern. Then after briefing, after 5 minutes or 10 minutes, if the intern will request for more time, then the dispatcher will just advise the client. But the normal time of waiting is in the previous model of this expanded lawyering service, it was just 5 minutes. So after briefing, the dispatcher will now initiate the conference call. And before the start of the conference call, the dispatcher will ask for permission to record the call. And the dispatcher will just listen and will take down notes on the remedy provided or given by the intern or the volunteer lawyer, and if there's further course of action if needed. So the dispatcher will take notes of all of this. And for further course of action, if the concern or the case of the client was not yet finalized or hindi pa po natapos, the dispatcher will coordinate with the same intern. So para po hindi magulo yung case monitoring natin, for the same client concern, same case, same po yung tatawag sa inyo na dispatcher at same po yung tatawag sa inyo na same po yung dispatcher na tatawag sa inyo. Okay. Parehas lang naman din po yung process for the not urgent cases, but the client is available. So a conference call again will be organized by the dispatcher. But before the conference call, the dispatcher will call you, will call the intern or the volunteer lawyer for briefing about the client's case. And for email, for the not urgent cases, the dispatcher will forward the incident report form to the UP Law Helps email. So there will be a centralized email to be used for this modality of the CHR-ELS for the CHR-ELS. And the UP All intern, you should reply to this email before the end of business day. And the dispatcher will take note of the service rendered if you will be giving legal advice or if you will be preparing basic legal documents. The dispatcher will take note of the service rendered and future course of action if needed. So parehas lang din po yung process, just like in the urgent conference call, urgent and not so urgent cases. The dispatcher will take note of further action if needed. So some reminders, if the UP OLA intern is not available or you can't be reached, the dispatcher will coordinate with the UP OLA secretariat point person, and the Office of Commissioner Totsi Cadiz will coordinate also weekly with the UP OLA secretariat point person for case monitoring updates. Okay. So if you don't have questions, I think I've reached the end of my presentation. And thank you for listening. And I'm ready to answer questions if you have any questions. And again, please bear with us. We will be piloting this protocols, this set of rules. And if ever there will be changes to be made to improve the process, we will do that before our official launch on December. Again, thank you very much and good afternoon to all of us.
Thank you, Attorney Ona. That was short and sweet. KISSSOS, sabi nga ni Director Jazz. We have 2 questions which have been raised, or 3 now. And sige. So dalawa nito, Attorney Ona, will be for you. Let me go to the second question on operational protocols. Second and third, yung para sa CHR kay Attorney Jenin. We will tackle that later. Attorney Ona, do volunteer lawyers disclose their identities to the inquiring clients? May they answer anonymously?
For the initial call, they can answer anonymously because the dispatcher will be the one arranging the call between the lawyer and the client, the CHR client. So the client will not know the number or at the very least the contact details of the lawyer. But yung name, of course, will be provided to the client, to the name of the lawyer. But the contact details, it will not be provided at the initial, at the onset.
What about for the subsequent, perhaps,
for
conversations?
The subsequent action, it's really dependent on the lawyer if what's the preference of the lawyer. Because for some lawyers, for efficiency, the lawyer would just like to directly contact with the client. But if the lawyer prefers to use the dispatcher to arrange the call between him or her and the client, then that could be arranged.
That would be for the numbers of the lawyers. But what about their real names? Can they use pseudonyms, Attorney Ona? Can they use pseudonyms, Attorney Ona, or do they need to use their real names? As I call, Agent Expert 4 among our support staff o among our project members, meron bang Mission Impossible Tom Cruise dyan na mga pangalang pwedeng gamitin ng ating mga volunteer lawyers?
I think we have to discuss that with our pool of volunteer lawyers. But for now, I don't think it will be a concern. But if it will be a concern for some of our volunteer lawyers, then we will take that into considerations.
Okay.
If we further develop these protocols.
Another question on protocol, Attorney Ona. Who determines if the legal question is urgent or not urgent?
the dispatcher of the different CHR offices will be the one to determine the urgency of the case. But if it's email, if it's via email,
right,
it's not an urgent case. But if
Alright.
it's a call, then it's an
Yes.
urgent case.
More likely. Okay. Sige. Please feel free to ask more questions by using the Q&A function. Now we have a question to Attorney Jenin.
Yes.
Yes. Does the CHR represent clients in court or quasi-courts?
So
Can you
again, this
refer-
is subject to institutional changes, but I'm speaking from what is currently what is the protocol in CHR. We do not give legal representation except for very specific cases. These cases, from what we've experienced, for example, for once we represented the client for the related EJK to PNPEAS, but that's just only once. Sometimes we assist in protective writs. And then sometimes we in criminal cases up to the fiscal level, but these are very specific cases which are decided on a case-to-case basis, and one of the factors to decide is the gravity of the human rights violation concern. Pero as a general rule, we refer it to first and foremost PAO. And then if PAO is unavailable because of a conflict of interest, we that's when we harness our other legal aid service provider linkages. But again, with ELS and the legal hubs, this network has grown wider.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Jenin. Any more questions from among our interns? Kung meron pa tayong dagdag na katanungan, lalo na tungkol sa ating operational protocols, please do send us your questions through Professor Vistan or Attorney Martin Esguerra. And we will be, I suppose, meeting with you soon, Professor Vistan, as we prepare to launch the service in December. No?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question, actually.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Una, can we have, I know Attorney Ona sent me yung protocol, no? But yung parang maganda kasi yung presentation, no? Yung mas parang encapsulated and mas visual. Can we have something like maybe the presentation itself na ma-distribute sa mga interns namin para madali nilang maalala yung mga steps, no?
A flowchart will be done, Prof. Carlo, para po mas mas mabilis na reference document for our students.
Yeah, and I think Attorney Rax, siguro the major question now is, do we start Tuesday o hindi? Kayo po, tinatanong para alam lang ng mga interns namin. Kasi sa OLA naman they do duty every work day naman eh.
Attorney Ona, ano bang plano natin?
Ako po, we need to talk to the different CHR offices first, just to be on the same boat as to the protocols. And then hopefully, Prof. Carlo, we really want to pilot before the official launch by the second week of December. So hopefully po, makasqueeze in po tayo ng ilang pilot days para po matest natin yung protocols or yung operation protocols in place.
Okay. So may we request everyone to stay on board? We will have a photo op. Please turn on your video cams. Sige. Ayun, meantime that we're doing that, again, we'd like to thank our speakers for this afternoon, who gave their precious time and effort in doing their presentations today, being a Saturday at that. Again, thank you very much, Attorney Kristel Joy Biscayda, Ms. Catherine Vergara, Attorney Teresa Diola, Attorney Jenin Rosanne Velasquez, Attorney Jasmin Regino, and Attorney Ona Caritos. Who else besides me noticed that we have an all-female roster of speakers today? No? Puro babae pala tayo. Would also like to thank the members of our staff and project team who made all of this happen. Jonas Turingan, Attorney Martin Esguerra, Ana Abastillas, Francis Yu, Mediatrix Ricelia, Gaya de Mesa, and Sara Malyari. We also mentioned our partner GoJust, whose support made this training session and our e-lawyering service project a reality. So are we now ready? Yes, sir, Attorney. Yes, Prof. Bistan.
May nagko-comment na hindi nila ma-turn off yung camera, baka may limit.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. No? So maybe pagka, ewan ko kung sino yung kukuha, pagtapos, hindi ko alam kung paano i-coordinate, pero mag-off na lang siguro. I'm not sure how that can happen.
Yes, Prof.
Okay.
Sino bang magkukuha ng litrato? Jonas, will you be doing it?
I think Yuki and Emma are
all right.
already.
Sige. Yuki, take it away.
I'll count 1 to 3, pero baka po gagawin natin maybe 3 batches.
Okay.
Yung pwedeng ma-screenshot. So let's start sa first batch. Okay, I'll count 1 to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, just wait for a while po. Okay, for the second batch po, I'll count again. 1, 2, 3. Just wait for a while po. Okay, for the third batch po, I'll count 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Wait lang po, may isang batch pa po tayo. Okay, for the last batch po, I'll count again. 1, 2, 3. And actually, mag-wait lang po tayo.
Mukhang may pinopromote pa yung mga natira. So
okay,
I think we have to have another
round.
Okay, sige po.
By the way, Attorney Martin or Jonas, you have any announcements yung ating video that we're preparing? Music video? Meron ba tayong announcement about that?
Yeah, we're gonna be launching when we launch the e-lawyering service. We're also gonna be promoting the service online through our social media platforms.
Yes.
On the CHR Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
All right.
Stay tuned.
Oh, sige. Sasama natin itong collage of photos doon sa music video natin.
Tama. Good idea.
Meron pa tayong pinopromote, Attorney Martin?
Mukhang okay na.
Okay na?
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much, everyone. It was a pleasure to see you all today. And again, we thank our speakers, our dear interns, and our volunteer lawyers. Thank you very much.
Attorney Raquel, just wait po.
Meron pa. Sorry.
Yung sa next batch kasi may kaka-promote lang po natin.
Okay,
kasi may po ng 100. So mag-take ulit tayo ng photo. So, okay, wait lang po.
We still need to stay online, Yuki, ano? Kahit doon sa mga nakuna na. All right. Thank you.
Okay po. Okay, I'll count again. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4 batches po ulit to be sure.
Okay. So at least we made good time. Hindi tayo masyadong nag-overtime.
Okay. For the second batch, okay. I'll count again. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, wait again. Okay, for third batch. Okay, I'll count 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait lang po sa last batch. Okay, for the fourth and final batch, may mga naka-off po ng camera. Okay, I'll capture in 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're done na po. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Happy Andres Bonifacio Day po. Happy weekend, long weekend.
Yeah, I have a question
Happy
for you.
weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Comm. Nandiyan si Comm. I think he wants to say something.
Hi, sir.
Tanong ko lang, how are we supposed to know our budgets? 1, 2, 3, 4. Batson.
Smile ka lang, Comm, ng smile.
Kaya nga.
Hanggang
You dated
matapos.
Okay.
Yes, Comm.
You dated myself. Hindi ko na inabot si Agent X44. Sino ba yun?
Bakit parang guilty kayo, Comm?
Pero may question ako. Gumamit ba kayo?
Agent X44. Kilala mo ba si Agent X44?